Story 1. Am I the asshole for telling my parents to ask their foster children for help instead of me? My life could have been pretty good growing up, but my parents wanted to do something special. They decided to become foster parents, which was a really kind thing to do. Those kids needed love and care, and my parents wanted to provide that. The problem was that I felt left out. I didn't get as much attention from my parents because they thought I was old enough to take care of myself. They assumed I didn't need help, so they focused more on the foster kids. When I was growing up, something that really bothered me was that the gifts my grandparents gave me would often end up being shared with the whole family. But my grandparents noticed this and came up with a clever solution. Instead of buying me gifts, they started taking me out on special adventures. We'd go see movies together, grab meals at my favorite restaurants, and even take weekend trips. My dad's parents took me on an unforgettable trip to Disneyland, and my mom's parents took me on an amazing adventure to New York City. Those experiences were truly special and just for me. But then, my parents tried to arrange it so that the money my grandparents spent on me would be given to them instead. I didn't want that to happen, so I pleaded with my grandparents not to do it. I wanted to keep our special times together just for us, without my parents being involved. When I turned 17, I decided it was time to leave home. I had finished high school early and was eager to start my career. Luckily, my grandfather was a member of a trade union and he helped me get an apprenticeship in the same field. Thanks to him, I was able to join the union and start building a better life for myself. Fast forward 17 years, and I'm doing all right. I built a stable life and career. But my parents aren't doing as well. They exhausted themselves taking care of all those foster kids. Despite the money they received, it wasn't enough to make up for the sacrifices they made. They gave so much of themselves, and it took a toll on their well-being. Now, my parents are struggling and have asked me for financial help, but I've said no. I know that if I give them money, they'll just use it to support the foster kids they took in after I left home. I told them that they have plenty of other kids they've helped over the years, and they could ask one of them for help instead. My mom told me she was disappointed in my decision and thought she had taught me better values. But I replied that I had essentially raised myself from the time I was 8 years old. I meant that I had learned to be independent and fend for myself from a young age. And that's why I'm making choices that are best for me now. My grandparents are also exhausted from helping my parents out financially. My parents already owe them a significant amount of money. My wife tries to understand my perspective, but she thinks I'm being too harsh. My mom believes I'm still holding on to childhood resentments. As for my dad, I refuse to speak to him. I'm sure he's still giving away my old belongings to the new foster kids, just like he always did. Story 2. I'm a 20-year-old girl, and I have a twin brother named Jay. We're super close, and I think of him as one of my closest friends. We spend a lot of time together, doing all sorts of stuff. Making friends isn't something I'm great at. I only have 2 really close friends. If I'm being generous, I guess I could say I have 3, since my best friend's friend's friend from childhood sometimes joins us. My twin brother Jay is the opposite. Super outgoing and social. He has a bigger group of friends, and they all hang out together a lot since they go to the same college. Last week, we were chilling with some friends from high school, and one of them commented on my shirt. She said it looked like something my brother used to wear back in high school. I told her it was actually the same shirt, and she gave me a weird look. I didn't think much of it and just let it go. My brother and I often share clothes because we have similar tastes and are around the same height and size. To us, it just means we have more clothes to choose from. Yesterday, I bumped into that same friend after one of my classes and we chatted for a bit. My brother called me while we were talking, asking if I wanted him to grab food for me since he was ordering some anyway. Before we hung up, I said bye. I love you, he said it back. and my friend gave me a weird look. At first, she didn't say anything, but when I asked her what was up, she said it was strange that I told my brother I love you. I just laughed it off and asked her if she didn't say that to her own siblings. She said no, because that would be weird. I didn't know how to respond. So I just let it go and told her I had to leave because I was meeting my brother Jay at home before he headed out to his friend's house. They were planning a hangout session. But then she started saying that our relationship was weird and not normal. She thought it was strange that we share clothes, say I love you hug, and spend so much time together. She even brought up our high school days, saying it was weird how we were always together and talking to each other. She also mentioned something I said back in high school. We were all talking about what we would do if our twin sibling passed away. I said that I didn't think I could live without my brother because he's such a big part of me. It turned out that another set of twins we were friends with had the same answer when they were asked the same question. The whole time she was talking, I just sat there in shock, staring at her because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Finally, she stopped and I blurted out, you should really stop watching so much adult content. She was super embarrassed and got defensive, yelling at me for saying that. I just left and went home. I told my brother Jay what happened, and he burst out laughing while I was dying inside, feeling shocked and mortified by my own words. I asked my other friends what they thought, and they also laughed and told me I wasn't in the wrong, but I still feel like I messed up. So, am I the asshole? Story 3. Am I wrong for agreeing with my niece being booed at her sister's wedding and then later putting her in check? I have 2 nieces, and one of them just got married. The other niece is having her first baby. At the wedding reception, she took the opportunity to share her news with everyone. To be honest, my niece has always been a bit self-centered and loves being the center of attention. She's always managed to get away with it because she's the family favorite. But this time, my niece's plan didn't work out. The groom's family and friends were shocked and booed her loudly. The best man, the groom's brother, took the microphone and scolded her, saying, "How dare you hijack my brother's special day to share your news," he reminded her. "This day is not about you," the crowd's boos quickly turned to applause, and it wasn't just the groom's side that was clapping. I joined in too. My niece and her husband were so embarrassed that they left the reception early. I went over to the bride to give her a hug and see how she was doing. That's when she told me that my niece had actually asked her weeks earlier if she could announce her pregnancy at the wedding. My niece thought it was a good idea because the whole family would be there. But the bride said no way. She wanted her special day to be just about her and her new husband. Hearing that made me feel even better about clapping along with everyone else. My niece had been told no, but she did it anyway. Later, my niece sent me a text message scolding me for clapping when she was embarrassed. I ignored it. But the next day, she called me and yelled at me again. This time, I stood up for myself and told her she deserved it. I said, "You knew the bride asked you not to announce your pregnancy, but you did it anyway. You always have to make things about you then." She had the nerve to say, "You've always loved her more than me," and yes, it's true, her sister is my favorite niece. But that comment made me really upset. I responded, "Your sister has to be someone's favorite, especially since you've always been the favorite of both our parents. Unlike you, she's kind and selfless, and she'll pass those amazing qualities on to her child." Then I told her, "I don't want to hear from you again until you grow up and apologize to your sister for what you did," and with that, I hung up the phone. Now, I'm in trouble with my sister, the mom, and other family members because I clapped and said those things to my niece over the phone. I don't regret clapping, but I'm wondering if I went too far in our phone conversation. Was I too harsh?